Hello, and welcome to another week of the Hofcast. We are on episode 17. Last week, we talked to several event operators that run pretty much all the events on the east side of the United States. And this week, as promised, we're going to talk a lot about Division III basketball. And a lot of times, D3 gets kind of put back on the back burner, for a variety of reasons, like, every kid's working for a scholarship, so that usually is the predominant conversation about things, how to get them, how to not lose them, that kind of stuff. But today we are definitely going to give Division III their due. I am obviously a big fan of Division III hoops. A lot of my good basketball coaching friends are coaches at D3s, and we are certainly going to give them all the respect today. And this episode is going to be all Division III hoops. We're going to have a lot of different perspectives tonight. We have Sherry Harr coming on, who is a absolute legend in the basketball game in Ohio. She's coached at Baldwin Wallace for 30 plus years and is already in the Hall of Fame. Then we're going to have Coach Cass from Wilmington. She played D3 hoops at Ohio Northern and is now coaching at Wilmington, both D3 schools. Then we're going to have a former player, Casey Hughes, from Springboro, who also played at Baldwin Wallace. We're going to talk to her about her experience and her perspective on Division III basketball. And then we're going to end with Travis Ponton, who is currently a Division III coach, but has coached at every level, Division I and on down. So he can give us a unique perspective as well. But as I said, we're going to start with Sherry Harr and her hair. Sherry, I know it's hair, right? But it's so hard.
Rich, with your hair, you got to be able to get that, right?
Oh, I got hair. I got a man bun right now, but I got hair. No, Coach, I appreciate your you coming on with us. I know that you are a loyal listener. I hear from you from time to time about things that go on the show. So first of all, I really appreciate that. It makes me feel really good that you are interested in what I have to say and what we discuss on the show. So I'm really excited that we can actually have you on here as a contributor this week. So here's my first question. From your perspective, why does D3, a lot of times get the short end of the stick or have the bad rap, or, it's obviously Division I, Division II is higher just from a institute standpoint. But, why is it that, it kind of gets overlooked a lot?
Probably the biggest thing is we don't have athletic scholarships. Our financial aid is all based on grades and need. And to be honest, I've never had a player. I don't know what our sticker price really is because we've never had a player pay the sticker price. And I think sometimes people get deceived that, a little bit of money at D2 makes it a more affordable option. And that's not necessarily the case. But I think that the perception is, one, people who've never seen Division III play and have never seen us play against Division II, and they don't realize the quality of basketball just because they're uninformed and just think because we don't have scholarships that we're not as competitive, but that's far from the truth.
Now, you've had some spectacular teams, like we talked before we went live. This is not necessarily to promote Baldwin Wallace. This is to promote Division III overall. But let's go back to some of those powerful teams that you had. How did you guys stack up to Division IIs, or did you ever even play some Division I schools along the way? Maybe even just in a scrimmage, and how does that go for some of your better teams?
Yeah, we've never been able to get a D1 to scrimmage. In fact, one D1 once told me she was telling me, I bought a win this year. We're paying so and so to come play it. So I'm like, well, we'll come play you. She's like, oh no, I don't want to play you guys. But we do get the scrimmage D2s every year. And generally we scrimmage somebody really good, like an Ashland or a Walsh. We've been scrimmaging Walsh lately, and before that, Ashland. And then we generally scrimmage another D2 more locally. And to be honest, oftentimes we're splitting those games. We're beating one. And, Kate at Walsh has been very gracious and actually contacted me before I contacted her 2 years ago before COVID to set up another scrimmage, because she feels like we prepare them well for what they're going to see down the road. So that's I feel very grateful and honored that, because Walsh is an NCAA D2 NCAA tournament team, and she feels like we give them some competition. But yeah, we generally are beating, for the most part, we're beating the second one, and we want to play good teams like that and see how we stack up before we hit our schedule.
I was actually, now that you mentioned it, I was at a Baldwin Walsh scrimmage a couple years ago. I think Casey Hughes was still on that team. Yep. Shield was on the team. Man, I mean, you had a ton of players, and I remember you did hang with Walsh for a good bit of 20 minutes. Walsh kind of wore you down a little bit and extended that, but you were definitely very competitive for the first half of the scrimmage. What are some of the misconceptions about Division III basketball in your experiences? How many years again? I know it's 30 plus. 32, 33?
Just finished 31. Yeah, 31. Just finished 31.
So yeah. 32 is next, obviously.
Yeah, God willing.
Now, what are some of those misconceptions that that you're finding as you're maybe getting kids on visits for the first time and they're learning about Division III? What are some of those misconceptions that they come into those visits with that they learn differently when they get there?
I think most of it is just how competitive it is. I think there's a good number of people out there that think anyone can play D3, and that is not the case at all. Certainly for good teams, not everybody can make a roster for us. But I think that they're really surprised by the quality of what we do, how we travel, how we do meals, what kind of schedule we play. I think many people are surprised. And really, there's a lot of great D3 academic institutions out there. And really, that's the biggest thing is when you're finished playing, for us, at least at BW, you're going to get a good job if you've done your part. You're going to rock it in the real world if you've done your part. And I think they're just surprised by the overall quality of everything that they see.
Well, let's get into that a little bit. I think it is worth noting, because that is a big draw to particularly Division I. They got the gear, they travel fancy, they take trips, they're taken well care of. Give us a little bit more detail. You said that they are surprised that how you travel and how you eat and how well you're taken care of. Get a little bit more into detail with that and kind of shed some light on how that is.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to fly a lot because most of our league is all in Ohio. So we can go same day bus, but we're traveling on a charter bus, and charter buses now have electric outlets. It's for your computer and Wi-Fi. Yeah. And it's really a nice way to travel. We do fly once every 3 to 4 years. We're going to go someplace nice and take advantage of that. We were supposed to go to Puerto Rico and COVID knocked us out of that, but we are going to go to Florida next year. So how we travel, just like the schedule we play, we actually played in a really high level tournament 2 years ago that we went out to Wartburg, Iowa, and we played some of the best teams in the country out there. We played Wash U and Wartburg on back-to-back nights. The level of coaching, we film every practice, and we're doing individual film with any players that want it, and we're doing team film. And I don't think people realize that we really operate much like all D1 and D2s do. You're just not getting scholarship money. And one of the benefits of that we found is generally people who don't want to be there anymore, they just leave. We don't have those people that are on scholarship and they have a poor attitude and they're just sticking around because they're on scholarship.
Yeah.
Like generally everybody on our team they're there because they want to be there. They're there because they love basketball and they love their teammates. And it ends up being a really great experience for everybody involved.
How often, you mentioned that you're supposed to go to Puerto Rico and now you're going to Florida instead. How often do you guys take trips like that, and how is that consistent throughout most of Division III?
I think pretty much most of D3 takes a nice trip every so often, some more than others. We take it every 3 years, but I think some probably go some. I think there might be one or two out there that go every year because they have some connections, and others that go maybe every 2, 3, 4 years. But generally, everybody's going to take a nice trip like that sometime in their career for most D3s.
Yeah.
And the beauty of not flying and going all over the country for us, too, is our people are in class. Our kids rarely have to miss class for anything having to do with basketball. So they get the best of both worlds. They're in the classes and they're learning and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing as students. And at the same time, we're playing a really competitive schedule.
Yeah, I remember I was at Mount Union with one of our players way back when I coached with McVaney. I went on a visit to Mount Union with one of our players, and I remember Susie saying at the time, I think she might have been there for maybe 10 or 12 years, and she said they'd only missed like 2 days of class in her whole 10 or 12-year career so far, mostly because, as you said, your whole conference is in Ohio, obviously the Ohio Athletic Conference. So generally, correct me if I'm wrong, you'll take the shorter trips during the week, whether that's usually Thursday, right? Or is it Wednesday?
Wednesday,
you'll take the shorter trips to like Mount Union or John Carroll, or, then you'll take the longer trips down to Wilmington on a Saturday or Marietta. So it does allow you guys to not miss a lot of class. And I mean, there's got to be some benefit to that. You're not ever getting behind. Your kids are never getting behind. They might have to do some homework on the bus or studying on the bus, but a lot of their bus trips probably are casual, and they're just not getting behind in class. Is that something that you're finding out is a benefit of the great travel schedule?
Absolutely. And our kids are serious students. We had a 3.77 GPA this past year we were 3.67, and the year before that 3.77. And it's not unusual for our kids on the way to games or even on the way back to have their computers out and they're writing papers, or they're doing things they need to do for class even on the bus. And that's what's beautiful about the charter buses and the Wi-Fi, is they can do all those things right on the bus, especially with the outlets. They're not running out of power at any point on the trip either.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the overall recruiting process for a Division III coach, because it is much different from anybody who has athletic scholarships. And you can also correct me if I'm wrong on this, but, generally when I'm talking to my kids or our parents, the timetable kind of goes, Division I's are recruiting kids, as they're freshmen or sophomores getting into their junior year. The older you get with Division I, the less likely you are to get a scholarship. Then the D2s kind of jump in on you after your sophomore year, for the most part, during your junior season, and probably most heavily after your junior year in the summer. And then you guys kind of, unfortunately, just the way it is, you're recruiting kids the whole time. But every one of those kids are generally looking for a Division II or NAIA opportunity. And so you're losing recruits probably weekly, if I had to guess. So you're kind of last in the pecking order to get the commits. For everybody that's listening and that will be listening, can you just kind of describe the overall general differences in recruiting for you guys than than schools that have scholarships?
I really don't know that it's that much different. Our timeline is really very similar. We get most of our commits before the new year. Halfway through their senior year, most of our commits, somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas, is when, again, probably 75 to 80% of our recruiting is finished with that class by that time. And we're visiting juniors in the spring of their junior year is when we do most of our junior visits. Now, some will wait, but that's not how we operate. We generally will lose them late to D2s more than we lose them probably early to D2s. But that's the way we're operating. We start calling juniors generally about January of their junior year, and start the process there. But they're getting things from us usually throughout their junior year. Again, others will wait. There are people out there, D3s out there, that are just now building their 22 list while we've already had most of our 22 visits.
Would you say that's a big reason? I mean, the reality is you guys are consistently getting the good recruiting classes, tops in Ohio, maybe not the top every year, but definitely top 2 or 3. Have you found out through the years that is just the best way to go about it? Let's stay on top of it and get ahead of it, and, let the other schools wait till things kind of feel themselves out.
Yeah. It takes a while to build those relationships. And that's really how we feel about recruiting, is we're building relationships, and hopefully they trust us and see us as a place where they can achieve their goals, and that we can help them achieve all those goals. And the biggest thing is finding the right fit, right? Like for every player, and we tell them this, ideally you find that Division 1 or 2 that just matches everything that you want in a school, and they give you a full ride. That's the ideal situation. But I've seen a lot of kids in the transfer portal who took money just because it was money and it wasn't the best fit. And now they realize that, and they're looking for the good fit. Because they're in the portal looking for their good fit. And ideally we're there and we're the great fit for them. And we tell them we're not probably going to be your cheapest option. But I'll tell you what, if you're only going to get 2,000 from a D2, we might cost a little bit more, but the experience you're going to get, like playing in the NCAA tournament, is a lot of fun, regardless of what level it is. Yeah. And you can do that at our place. Since 1996, every class but one has gotten to play in the NCAA tournament for us. And so if you really want to do those kinds of things and get a great education, it's going to open doors for your future. It might be worth it. Like we tell them, you don't go buy the cheapest house, the cheapest car you can find, right? You find what you want, and then you work to make that affordable. And that's hopefully the process that the kids we're working with are looking at taking, is finding the right thing, and then let's make it as affordable as we can.
That kind of plays into one of my biggest questions that I wanted you to address today. You commonly find yourself in a battle probably with Division II schools, maybe some NAIA schools, and you're probably in that situation more than most D3s. John Carroll probably is in that boat a lot, and maybe Marietta. But the top D3 schools certainly are always competing with Division IIs. When it comes down to it, like, what are the points of emphasis that you try to present to these kids that, D3 could be your best option?
Yeah, it comes back to that value piece. Like, sometimes you get what you pay for. And if you're not paying a lot, sometimes it's not necessarily exactly what you were looking for. And, so it really comes down to what's the value of what we have to offer to you and your family. And it's really a family decision. And so that the parents, we involve the parents a lot because we think that's really important, because they're part of our basketball family once somebody joins our program. And, we're all in this together. And the thing that I'm really proud of is we have a lot of alums who have graduated from BW, going on doing great things, and had opportunities to go at different levels. Riley Schill, Casey Hughes, those guys, and they don't regret their decision. They had the experience they were hoping to have, and that's the thing about D3 too. You can do lots of other stuff. Like, you're going to talk to Casey. She's editor of the school newspaper, and she's doing all kinds of internships, and you can do those things and do everything with quality at D3, that because we're not taking overnight trips for league games, and there's just a little bit more flex time in there for everybody. But our kids are going to work just as hard. Like, we're going to be in the film room, and we're going to be in the weight room, and we're going to, our kids are going to put in extra time. So again, it's really just, what's the value? Is what D3 offers as an experience worth a little bit extra money to you? And really, to be honest, our goal is to win a national championship. To do that, we've got to get people who could play D2. That's the bottom line. And that's at every level, right? For D2 to win a national championship, they need to get people that can play MAC or higher. Yeah. And, so that's what we're all battling for, is those kind of players that could play at the next level, but see value in what we offer to them, and where they can be at the end of their 4 years, what kind of doors it opens for them.
Now, again, kind of segueing off of that, the finances is always a big deal for most people. Some people, it doesn't matter. But I, just from my experience with some of the kids that have been recruited to D3 schools in our program, the price tag is not always as bad as you think. Like, you immediately think D3 and you immediately think expensive, no scholarship, expensive. What are some ways, just for general purposes here, for people to kind of understand, again, it's not as bad as you might always think or you might assume, but where are some places people can get the money to make that price tag get to where, oh, it's really not that bad?
That's a great question. It starts with the FAFSA. You fill out the FAFSA, and that gives our financial aid people the jumping off point of what you can afford. And the package then works from that. Merit money for us, 3.9 and above automatically gets you 21 grand straight off the top without anything else, if you have a 3.9 GPA or above. So it starts with the merit. It goes with the FAFSA and what your need is. And we've had everything from people who they had a 0 EFC or a 0 family contribution. So the FAFSA is saying they can afford nothing to come to school, and everything that from the whole gamut from that to people who could pay the full boat, but no one in our program ever has, because they're always good students as well. So they're getting at least some merit money. And then outside of that, there are all kinds of places you can fill out scholarship. There's fastweb.com and all kinds of websites where you go on and find scholarships that you can apply for. And there are hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars probably that goes unclaimed every year of scholarship money sitting out there, that if people just took the time to apply for those, they could. And obviously, a lot of good students have opportunities for local scholarships in their areas and things like that. But it's generally way more affordable than people realize. It's not, again, I don't know our sticker price because no one pays our sticker price.
Yeah.
No, I've never had a player. We don't recruit a student who can't at least get some merit money. So,
yeah. Now, is that a process that you help your student athletes with? Or is it all on them? Or do you guys have somebody, or is it you who, hey, sit down, apply for this, apply for this, apply for this. This is your chance of you have a chance of getting money here, here, and here. Please apply for that. Or is it kind of something that they have to know on their own?
Well, as far as BW money, that's taken care of through the application and FAFSA. That's all taken care of. In D3, by NCAA rules, we cannot be part of that financial aid process. Okay. We will send you to the people who can help you. We'll email this person, call this person, whatever. We can send the links to the websites like FastWeb and places like that where they can apply to scholarships. So we can head people to the resources, But as much as we wish we could, we can't go over to our financial aid or admission and say, hey, Susie's going to win us a lot of games. We need to get her here. That's just not legal by NCAA rules. And if anybody says they can do that, they're not legal by NCAA rules.
Yeah.
It has to be all through financial aid and admissions, and the coaches are involved to be in that. But again, we can point you in the right direction of who you need to talk to for those things.
Now, is that something that takes place before they commit or after they commit, or?
It depends on the family. It really depends on the family. Some families are comfortable in knowing that it is going to work out. They maybe had another sibling has gone through that process, maybe without scholarships or whatever, and knows how that works and about what they're going to get anyway. And so it really does depend on the family. It's not unusual for us, though, to get commits without seeing the finances, just knowing and trusting that it is going to work out. And 99% of the time it does.
Another part of Division III is that you guys have less stringent recruiting rules, which is quite evident because you guys are allowed to talk to kids at events. Now, for everybody who doesn't know, it has to be after they're done. So, if they're at an AAU tournament, you can't walk up to them after their first game. If they only play one game today, then yes, you can. But like in the NCAA period down at Louisville, you have to wait till after their second game to talk to them. So just talk a little bit about those differences in recruiting. If I remember correctly, there wasn't too many years ago, you guys couldn't even follow kids on Twitter, right? Or you couldn't message them.
We can't do anything public. We can hit buttons, so we can like and retweet, but we can't type anything. Yeah, that's our social media thing until after May 1st of their senior year, and then we can actually do some of those things if they've deposited to our institution. That we can do those things. But yeah, we can talk to them after they're finished for the day. You're exactly right. We can actually talk to families, parents, anytime, which is a little bit weird. Not weird in talking to them, but weird that we can talk to the parents, but not to the student athlete. Yeah. We have no recruiting calendar. So that's why we're out all the time because, there's no calendar. And I've always said we can't pay them money, but we can pay them attention. So we're going to do that as much as we can. And again, it's really about building the relationships. And we think the best way to do that is in a face-to-face manner. I mean, it's still better than texting or even phone calls to be face-to-face with somebody. Just again, building that relationship with them. But it is taxing that way. But so other D3, other rules, no calendar. We can talk to them at events when they're finished for the day, and that's year round. You can
call before anybody.
We can call before anybody. We can actually talk to juniors after they're finished for the day too, but they can't do an official visit until after January 1 of their junior year. And then we can do official visits. Our official visits probably look a little different than D1 or D2, but we can still do those. Our league does not allow in-home visits, so that's a little bit different. So we're not doing in-home visits with people, but again, because we can get face-to-face off campus more often, I think that kind of lessens the need for that anyway. So those are probably the biggest differences there.
I kind of feel like nobody should be able to take in-home visits. With all the cost cutting that people are trying to make, is there really any reason to be flying all across the country through the fall, visiting a recruit in Southern California to try to get her to come play in a MAC school? Probably could take care of some cost by alleviating that. So before we let you go, Sherry, is there anything that we missed? Is there anything that you want the Twitter world, the YouTube world, whatever, to know about Division III that they either may not know, or it might be a misconception, or just something that would help the perception of their Division III?
Yeah, I think still the biggest thing is the quality. It's not another step in intramurals. Like you got to be pretty darn good to play at D3,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with playing at D3. And in fact, I believe in a lot of ways we put out young women who are more ready to take on the real world coming from D3, where we're not holding their hand through what they're going to do in class. We're not telling them when they need to be in class, when they're, our people have to set their own schedules and look out for themselves. And they have to budget money. They have to do that on their own. We're not paying for everything, and we do things like that. We do some personal finance things. We showed our kids how to change a car tire one time just to help them prepare.
Youthful.
Yeah. But, if they've never seen D3 basketball, they need to go watch a game and sit near the front, because the biggest difference in all the divisions is size, strength, and quickness. That's the biggest difference. We're going to have some great shooters at our level, and we're going to have really skilled people at our level. They're just a couple inches shorter and half step slower than the levels above them. And so when you're looking at quality, that's really the biggest difference. And there's some really, really good D3 basketball out there. And you look at, Robinson, Duncan Robinson started in D3. Now he's an NBA, like it happens in football. Like there are people now, he did transfer, but he started out in D3, and there's some really quality athletes. I don't know if you follow like Devontae Friga from Mount Union on Twitter. He's like going crazy on YouTube right now. He's a D3 guy, played at Mount Union. So again, I think the quality of D3 is very, very underestimated by most people. And let me know if you want to come out and see a game. You can come out to BW and catch a game.
Well, I personally have been there, but for anybody who else that hasn't, everybody has an open invite to see Baldwin Wallace. What games should they come to see if they really want to see a big time matchup?
Gosh, everybody in the league, our league is brutal, top to bottom. Our 9th and 10th place teams are giving our top teams a run for their money. So you could probably pick about any game in our league, and it's going to be a pretty good one. We're not home a lot for our non-league right now, but like in any NCAA tournament game, you're going to see some really good basketball too. But actually, if you go on YouTube, you can probably see some. What's that?
The correct answer would have been Wilmington.
So give me a segue. I'm sorry. Yeah, come to the Wilmington game. There you go.
So anybody who wants to come to a game, just reach out to you on Twitter. You'll take care of them.
Yeah, email. Yeah, anyway, email's probably better. I'm not great with DMs and anything. I'm better with email. So.
You actually just recently got on Twitter yourself, so you're still trying to learn that whole thing.
You got it.
What's your email? Go ahead and put it out there. Anybody wants to get a hold of you.
My first initial and last name, so CHARRER@bw.edu. All
right, Coach. Well, I appreciate your time tonight. Thanks for being a loyal listener. I see it's through your window back there. It's gotten dark in the 33 minutes that we've been on here, so I won't hold up anymore. Go ahead and go home and take a load off for tonight. You probably worked today.
Yeah, really appreciate all you do for women's basketball, and really appreciate you took the time to give D3 some love here tonight.
All right, Coach. We will we'll certainly see you pretty soon.
Sounds good.
All right, take it easy, Coach.
Thanks, Rich.
Well, there you go. The living legend, Sherry Harr, Hall of Famer, 31 years at Baldwin Wallace. I did an interview with her last year, so you can go search that on my website and take a look at that. Got my two best friends sitting here stalking me, giving me the finger. Shout out to these guys, Andy and Brian. I got some furniture today that they helped me put together, and I had to dip on them to get this podcast started, and they finished it without me. So thanks, guys. I hope it's finished.
I hope you put together might be.
Well, we got Coach Cass coming on next from Wilmington, Division III down in southwestern Ohio. So we will pull her up, and Cassie has a different experience with Division III. Not only are you a current coach, but you actually dominated the OAC at Ohio Northern. Is that correct, or am I misrepresenting?
No, that is correct. My 4 years as a Polar Bear, we were 91-20. Got 2 NCAA tournament appearances, and made it to the conference championship game. My first 3 years, we won the conference. My sophomore year, beat Otterbein. Lost to Mount Union my freshman year. Lost to Capital my junior year in the finals, and then we lost to Capital my senior year in the semis. So like Sherry said, the OAC is from top to bottom. I mean, it's competitive.
It really is, year in and year out. I mean, the teams at the top might be different, but it is any given year, a bottom half team can definitely upset a top team. Now let's go back to your playing days. You chose Ohio Northern. Do you care to share what other schools were in the running, or what other schools may have been recruiting you?
Yeah, so really my top 2 choices, when I narrowed it down, was Ohio Wesleyan University and Ohio Northern. It ended up being kind of size for me, and like Sherry had mentioned, that like feel and fit. So when I had actually stepped on campus at ONU, I had like that home feeling. Now I lived in Mason, so it was about 2 hours away, so it wasn't too far from my parents. So if I needed something, I felt comfortable that I could go back. They were able to travel to me as well. But yeah, when I stepped on campus, it for some reason it just felt right. Like it wasn't too big. Everything was spaced out. It had that small feel. I needed small. I went to a small high school. I graduated with 182, so I wasn't looking for anything huge. But really for me, it was fit. I did an overnight. I loved being able to meet the players. They made me feel really comfortable. It wasn't like awkward or anything like that, or forced conversations or anything. It just felt natural. So I knew coming in that it was going to be a great program to be a part of.
I've always said that ONU, I visited there a couple of years ago. You played for Coach Mark Hilsman. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He
Hilsman,
told me,
yeah.
that's just that's how I can say it. So he gave me permission either way. But I went up there, visited. He was a great host. He showed me around. I kind of felt like it was a smaller version of Ohio State, because it has the big courtyard, just like Ohio State. The diagonal walkways, and you can walk around. The athletic facilities, other than basketball, are kind of off. They're on campus, but you got to go off of the main part of campus to, go to the football field. Certainly within walking distance, but not right there in the busy part of the college. It kind of felt like a small Ohio State to me. But what were the differences for you that made Division III so special to you? Like, obviously, again, I mean, I hate saying this over and over again, but everybody's objective is to get a scholarship. So for you, what was the kind of the points of emphasis that made D3 just as special for you than, let's say a Division II or Division I school?
Yeah, so and like you said, money's always been a big factor with a lot of recruits and everything. But like for me specifically, it was, can they help me further who I want to be as a person when the ball stops bouncing? Because regardless if I had talent to even play Division I, or, if I went on a D2 or anything like that, like I needed a school that I knew was going to help me in my future, because I was never going to play professional basketball. It's not in my cards. So I needed a school that the coaches, the professors, everyone that was a part of the campus community, I knew was going to help me get to where I needed to get to when I graduated. Also, just the community within the basketball program itself. Being able to feel comfortable with my teammates, knowing that there was some diversity, socioeconomical, racial, ethnical, whatever it be. There was some diverseness. It wasn't just everyone's from the same area or anything like that. So I wanted something that I knew for me was going to further myself as a person. Basketball was always going to be second. So ONU allowed me to have that.
Now, what were some of your experiences outside of basketball? We're going to talk to Casey Hughes here after you. I know she was involved with a lot of stuff. Her Division III experience was tremendous, and we're going to find out about that. But for you, outside of basketball, what does D3 provide for you that helps you? You said it definitely helped you prepare you. What were some of those things that you could get involved with?
Yeah, so I was part of a Habitat for Humanity, so I didn't get to do a lot of the missionary trips, but just being able to be a part of that meeting and kind of set those up. And then I actually was a part of, I don't think it exists anymore, but it was a fraternity sorority for athletic training, sport management, and kinesiology majors. And it was very hand-picked. So the upperclassmen in it basically nominated someone, and I actually had a former teammate on there who nominated me, and I got to be a part of that. And that was really special because it was major focused. So I got to dive in a lot of stuff within my own major as a sport management major. I was able to get an internship opportunity in Louisiana for 2 months in the summer, which was amazing. I got to experience being 17 hours away from home, but just being able to really hone in on, and this is before I even knew I wanted to coach. This was going into my second year as a student assistant coach. So it allowed me to see different aspects of the degree I was getting in. But even our kids at Wilmington, they're involved in so many different organizations outside of basketball. We have players who are involved in, sororities for their agricultural program. We got people who volunteer at the Humane Society who are animal studies. So again, D3, what I love about it is that it allows our players to be well-rounded in other areas. It's not just basketball focused. They're able to find different passions that they love and be able to hone in and utilize that. Now,
you were listening to, I think, pretty much all of Coach Harr's segment. Some of the points that she talked about, what made D3 special, was that consistent with your experience at ODU? Or I'm sorry, ONU?
No, you're good. Yeah, I mean, when I got to ONU, the values of that program, I wanted to match mine as a person. And when I got there, the core values of who they were, it was very family oriented, but also just the overall experience of developing young women to be leaders. That was all I was really looking for. So my experience, I wouldn't trade those 4 years. I miss going. I always tell people now, I would love to go back to Ada. That's my second home. And a lot of it had to do with being a part of the basketball program, but a lot of it also had to do with just the community overall. We had a very supportive community among professors and other students who supported athletics. So it really felt like an overall family environment.
Now, you've transitioned from a player to a coach. What are you finding out in the recruiting aspect of Division III? What are some of the challenges that you have when you're recruiting kids, and what are some of the positives that you choose to highlight with these kids?
Yeah, so some of the struggles have been, again, a lot of people are very money focused. It's all about that scholarship, and I completely understand that. When I call kids on the phone, I try to watch them ahead of time so we have something to talk about. Whether it's I've seen you play in a game or you sent me highlights or something. So at least they know, hey, I watched you. This is what I've seen. I think you can be a great contributor at our level. I try to talk to kids like I'm kind of coaching them in a sense. I want them to get a feel like this is who I am as a coach. And if you came here, this is how I would coach you. So I try to do that ahead of time. But we've battled some of the money factors. And like Sherry brought up a great point. A lot of kids miss out on extra money opportunities because they don't apply for these outside scholarships. And we try to tell kids if it's $250, it's $250 that you don't have to pay. Yes. We try to push them in that direction of whatever amount it is, apply for it. Like if you can, do it, because nothing else. I mean, the less that you can play out of pocket, the better. But some of our struggles have just been battling higher divisions for money, or kids that maybe aren't getting those looks at higher levels, but they still are chasing the money part of it. And that transition for me as a player and as a coach is just being realistic in who you are and kind of your skill sets. And I mean, Sherry brought up a good point. You Division III, you want to, especially if you're a top Division III team, you want to try to chase after the players who could play D2 that could be a steal for you. But at the same time, my message would be for players and recruits is you know who you are, but also know the type of fit you want. Like if you want to play right away, you gotta figure out what level that's going to be at. If you want that fit or that feel that's going to fit you, not just as a player, but as a person as well. We try to tell our recruits, you got to think big picture also. It's the school that you're going to. Yeah, you can play basketball, but are they going to help you academically, socially, whatever it may be, to where when you graduate, you're in a good spot for where you want to go career-wise and future-wise?
I meant to ask Sherry this question, and I didn't get to it, so I'm going to ask you as well. How do you deal with recruits that may, they have no interest in D3 just because they're just, focused on, like we said, the money or other things that they just aren't even open to D3 as an option? How do you, as a coach that's trying to recruit, the best kids that you can get to your program, how do you handle that?
So I'm usually straight up honest with them when I first start the initial contact. I'll ask them kind of brief introduction if they prefer to text or call, because I know some recruits hate talking on the phone. We're in that generation, so if they're better off texting, that's fine. I'll communicate through text. I tell my backstory, kind of what we offer, what they're interested in. I always try to get the details of, what are they looking for in size? What are they looking for in distance? Do we have what they have academically? Because we don't have engineering at Wilmington. So if a kid's interested in engineering, that's kind of a negative.
Yeah.
We also ask them about, what they want for their college experience. Because I want to try to get to know how deeply a kid's thinking about their college recruitment. Like, are you just kind of, well, I just want to play college basketball? Like, I want the deep answer of what you want for your experience. Like, what are you looking for in a community? What are you looking for within your team? What are you looking for academically with your professors? Like, do you want that one-on-one experience? Do you want a small classroom environment? Do you want to be able to have study tables and this and that? So I try to get into the deeper aspect of it, and allow them to kind of answer that and kind of create that relationship that, hey, I care about you more than just a basketball player, and try to get that instilled in them. And if they're still not interested, then I move on to the next kid. But I let them know also, like, I'll ask them, based on our conversation, would you still be interested in being recruited by us? If they say no, then it is what it is. I'm not gonna chase ghosts. But at the same time, if they're like, they don't have many offers, they're not getting looked at yet, and they say yes, then yeah, we're going to continue to build that relationship. But I really want to try to get them on a deeper personal level, because sometimes they're not thinking like that. They're thinking surface level, I just want to play basketball.
All right, last question. I know anybody who knows you knows you're high energy. You love to get after it. You're a basketball mind. And I'm going to go on record again to say that years ago, I predicted that you would be a rising star in the coaching world. And I still believe that that's very true. But has the recruiting aspect of being a coach at the D3 level, has it been easier than you expected or tougher than you were anticipating? Because you connect well with kids, and I think that's a huge asset in recruiting. So in my mind, I probably feel like you thought, hey, I can do this. Like I can be very good at this. But now that you're in it, is it harder or easier than you were anticipating?
I want to say a little bit of mixture of both. Like you said, I do take creating those relationships really seriously. So like this past time I think it was over the weekend, I was talking with a recruit and we started getting on a tangent about shoes because I'm a sneakerhead. So We were talking maybe
Guilty.
5-10 minutes before we even got into like other questions I needed to ask talking shoes. So I can kind of relate, and I think part of that's also I'm still kind of on the young side, so I kind of know the trends a little bit, and that's what helped me a little bit through this recruiting. And I learned that because a couple weeks ago I got invited to be on the NCAA Coaches Academy, and there was another Division III head coach that was talking about when it comes to recruiting and even your players and retaining your players on your current roster, you got to stay updated with the trends that are happening now. Because the game's evolving, but even the kids are evolving. So I'm trying to stay on top of what are the new trends that these kids are buying into and try to relate to that a little bit. I guess one of the other struggles is I don't get answered back. I always like, hey, if you're not interested or something down the road, or maybe you've already committed or you got other things going on, I just like a, hey, coach, sorry, I'm not interested anymore. Because I've been on left just nothing. So I'm a talker. So I like that communication. You're never going to hurt my feelings by telling me no. But no, I haven't struggled too much. I love it. I think it's just more the relationship part of it that I enjoy the most.
You kind of hit on a question. I wasn't going to ask you. I was going to ask Travis later. How you would like kids to break the news to you in a sense, because it is hard for kids. I get it all the time from my players. Coach, I'm not interested in that school. What should I do? So you hit on it. Anybody who wants to hear more about that, I will be asking Travis about that. I planned on that being a question for him. So stay tuned for when Travis gets on. Cass, I really appreciate it. I'm sure we're going to see you in July, right?
I'm heading to.
You don't have to stop recruiting, so I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of you.
Oh yeah, I'll be in Louisville, Knoxville, West Virginia, and Cincinnati.
Well, we got to get your new boss to let you come to the NEO showcase on July 31st too.
I'll definitely try to make that. I won't try to miss that.
Coach Shreve used to come, so I know you're ready to travel more than he was.
I'm at that age. I can still do it.
Exactly. You'll be rocking out to the tunes the whole way.
Oh, heck yes.
Well, again, I thank you for your time, and I always appreciate you. I mean, this is not the first time you've been on the podcast, so I can promise you this won't be the last either. So, again, thanks for everything. You are you're an awesome role model for these young ladies in the game. So, thank you for everything.
I appreciate it, Rich. And I'm going to echo what Sherry said. You're doing a great job, and you're one of the few people I know that do this for the right reasons. And you put your young women in great positions to help them with their future goals. So I commend you for that. Well,
thank you. I appreciate it. And we will definitely see you here in a couple of days.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Cass. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you, Rich. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye. That was Coach Cass. Again, a perspective from a former player and now a current young coach. I mean, she's just getting started. So we are now going to transition into talking to a former player. We got Casey Hughes on the line with us. And Casey, I don't know that we've ever talked in person.
I don't think we have either. So this is kind of in person, but the virtual COVID world person, I guess.
Exactly. You have always, and I'm not just saying this, anybody who knows me, I don't blow smoke up anybody's rear end. You have always been one of my favorite Dayton area players. And
thank you.
I wish we lived closer because I'd have loved to come see you play more often in high school. I did get to see you play at Ball and Wallace a number of times, but I loved your intensity, your motor. You literally, you are the type of player that I love. We actually have now Sophie Neese that plays a lot like you did, and for lack of better words, a complete disregard for her own health and wellness.
I got that a lot when I was playing sports. They were always like, if you told Casey to run through a brick wall, she would. And I'm like, I wouldn't. I mean, if you told me to, maybe I would.
I don't doubt that for 1 second, but I mean, what year did you graduate from Springboro? It had to be what, 2016, 17?
2016, yeah.
16. So, I mean, we're 5 years later, and
Yeah.
you're still up there on my top list of Dayton area basketball players. So,
Oh, thank you so much.
That's definitely cool.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
So you are a Baldwin Wallace alumni.
Mm-hmm.
You coached or you played with Sherry Harr. Played on some really good basketball teams there. Can you tell everybody who's listening, or anybody who, there's going to be hundreds of people that watch this, whether it's live or replay.
My mom.
Your mom follows me on Twitter, I think. So
she's probably streaming in. So hi, Mom.
She probably has all kind of updates on this, but
I know.
And you got your mom shout out in. Tell us what led to, during the recruiting process. I would imagine that you probably passed up some money somewhere to go to Baldwin Wallace. Just kind of walk us through that and what played into your decision.
Yeah. So I was very fortunate that I played soccer in high school too, and played basketball. So I was a two-sport athlete that was kind of deciding what I wanted to pursue more. And then I think it was about my freshman year that I decided that basketball was it, and that was what I was passionate about. So I, talked to my parents about it. We decided to go through a bunch of recruiting camps. We went to a bunch of OGBR training sessions, the camps, the college camps that came with it. So about I think it was beginning of my junior year, I got offered from Union College in Tennessee, and then Lincoln Memorial was talking to me, and also Ohio Dominican. And it was kind of strange because, this happens a lot to girls and boys who, are maybe D2 caliber, but probably should be in the D3 realm, that they promised me money, but it wasn't a ton of money. But they said, sophomore year, you get more money type thing. So I remember driving home from, I think it was Union, and I went to a camp with my dad, and I met a couple point guards and shooting guards that they had transferred down from D1 that were going to be in my grade, or the grade above me, meaning, I probably wouldn't see the court until I was a senior because they were D1 and they were coming down. So I remember driving back from Union, and I was like, Dad, I don't think I'm going to go there. So my high school coach, Lindsay Meek, she played for Coach Harr, and I think it was 2004 she graduated, and she told me, she's like, I know you're not looking at D3, but, I think you should give BW a chance. And if you're not going to go there, you don't go there, you pass up on an opportunity, but I think you should go up there and just see what it's all about. So I believe I reached out to Coach Harr, or Lindsay set it up, but, I was up in a visit beginning of my senior year, and the rest is history. I committed like the next day. So that's my story in short.
How could you resist Coach Harr, honestly?
I know.
I understand how it could be a short, quick process.
Yeah.
What did D3 provide for you? I know we'll get into a little bit of what you're up to these days. I still follow you on social media, so I see some things here and there.
Yeah.
But just talk about your D3 experience when you were there. There for 4 years. What kind of stuff aside from basketball? We already know you had a great career and was on a successful team. But aside from basketball, what did Baldwin Wallace provide for you, and what were you able to experience there?
Yeah. BW, I think it's just a testament to BW in general, but they had so many opportunities for student athletes. It was almost hard not to be involved in something else besides your sport. So I was the executive editor for our student newspaper, The Exponent. I got to do that my whole senior year, along with basketball. And my professors were very willing to, help me do both and balance both. I studied abroad twice. I went to Brazil and Germany. I went to Germany my junior year, going into my junior year, and then Brazil going into my senior year. I was in SAC. after school activities were insane, because I was in the newspaper for a couple years. And it's just, BW just has so many things going on. They have so many clubs, and there was a few that I wanted to get into, but, with basketball, it was just almost like a full-time job, and then trying to do school, which was another full-time job. And your days were busy, but I think, with D3, you have the time to do all of it and still get good grades and meet with your professors, because it's smaller class loads and class sizes. So you're able to, I had personal relationships with every single professor I had, and then be able to go to practice and be on time. And then if you do have to leave for a night class early, Coach Harr was super willing to let me go, because, you don't go to D3 in hopes to go into the WNBA. You go D3 because you know that your academics are first and basketball second. But BW allowed me to almost put them equal, because, basketball, we were pretty good, and academics were challenging, but my professors were right there with me.
So I'm 100% certain that you have friends that played Division II, Division I.
Mm-hmm.
How can you kind of compare, their experience with yours? Honestly, the perception is D1's the best, D2's the next, then D3. NAIA, most people don't even really know anything about, which, I don't mean that in a bad way, but that's the reality.
Yeah, no, it's true.
We will do a show on NAIA at some point. So people can learn a little bit about that. But, that's the perception. But you have friends that played other levels. Where did your experience correlate with theirs on, Coach Harr mentioned travel, gear, team meals. How did Baldwin Wallace treat you, and compare that to some of these other scholarship schools that your friends were at?
Yeah. So, I have a lot of friends right now who, most of my friends who I played AAU with, or even just different sport athletes that are graduated, are now trying to enter the workforce. And, right now, because of COVID, it's even more challenging. But even before, when you don't have an internship or experience because you're playing basketball throughout the whole summer, which is one thing that, I had to discuss with my mom, because D2, it's D2, it's just one division higher, but they still have calling times earlier. And like I said, I wasn't going pro or doing anything like that. So one thing that I really valued was my ability to be able to have internships. I actually had 3 internships, and was able to do them throughout school and over the summer, and not feel like I was missing out on open gyms or practice or anything like that, because I didn't. I had a scheduled time that was allotted to me because of the, D3 experience. They give you that, which is a really big benefit. And, I think will give me a step ahead, because I'm still an athlete. They talk about that in interviews every time I talk to someone, but I also had work experience. Even if, you're not, I was a public relations major, and they kind of require internships, but even if you're, biology, whatever the case may be, and you just have a regular job, that's still kind of putting you ahead of other athletes that might have not had the time to do that. So I think that's the biggest benefits. And just extracurriculars are so important in developing students and people in general. You go out in the world and you understand different aspects and different people, and BW and D3, gave me that experience at whole.
Now, what are you up to these days? I know a little bit of what you're up to, but, where has your life taken you after graduation? I know with COVID and everything, unfortunately, your senior season got put to an end unceremonially. But, since you graduated, what have you been up to, and kind of how did Baldwin Wallace and D3 opportunities kind of set you up for that?
Yeah, so I was applying to law schools in May 2020 and that summer, and because of COVID, all the schools shut down. So I didn't hear back until August from most of the schools that I applied to, which then it was too late because August 15th school starts. So then I decided to take that gap year and just I'm living kind of at home. I have my own apartment. And just I wanted to work because I didn't want to not be doing anything. So I work at I'm a marketing assistant at a law firm in Middletown, Ohio. I coached 7th grade basketball actually for my little sister this winter, which was interesting. So I'm going to DePaul Law. We're actually moving to Chicago. My apartment behind me is really messy, but we're moving to Chicago in 2 weeks to start
Oh, nice.
next journey. But that's where I'm currently at. And BW definitely set me up for it. I mean, I had schools reach out to me about how awesome my letter of recommendations were. And I had letter of recommendations from Coach Cody, Coach Harr, and then 2 other professors at BW, Alan Kolb, and then another professor who's not at BW anymore. But I had one school, DePaul, they mentioned how me being a student athlete was something that was really strong, and it was really noticeable in my application. And, I had my coaches who know me better than anyone write about my work ethic and things like that. So, I mean, just that in general probably got me into law school, and, my time management skills that you learn from D3 and everything else like that definitely is going to help me, helps me in my job currently and will continue to help me.
When was the last time that you talked to Coach Harr?
I texted her yesterday. She calls me randomly sometimes, and I'm like, what's wrong? No, but I see her, and whenever I go up to Cleveland, I try to make an effort to see her, Coach Cody, and she'll call me randomly, and we talk for, so long just about life and what's going on. And anything news-wise, I text her and Coach Cody. I let her know what's going on. I feel like we've developed that relationship where, now I'm not her player anymore, but she'll always be my coach and always be my friend too.
Well, I don't know if how random this is or how unexpected this is, but
hi, Coach.
Coach Harr,
I know unexpected, but I knew you were on it, but I thought you were earlier.
she hung around, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to kind of give you guys a chance to say hello for the whole world to see. And
hello, world, and hello, Coach Harr.
Coach Harr, please tell me, for someone who is such a big fan of Casey, but has never got to coach her, tell me what it was like to coach Casey Hughes for 4 years. And how many times you have to tell her to untuck her shorts?
No, yeah, that was a losing battle. She was going to tuck her shorts in her. Yes, that wasn't gonna change. I'll tell you what. Here's the biggest thing I can say about Casey is, in 4 years of practicing games, not once can I say that she ever dogged it. Like, she went just as hard in practice, and she may be the most competitive person that's ever played in our program. Like, she's going to argue the score if she didn't think it's right. And it was awesome because it picked up the intensity level of everybody around her. Because if Casey's out on the floor, you cannot take a play off because she's going to make you look stupid.
Yeah,
I can attest to that. When you guys were playing in the 3-on-3, what was it, 3 years ago maybe? Mm-hmm. You guys had a team in it, and I seen you guys from across all the way from the other side of the court. And I'm like, who in the world is that kid over there getting after it? Like, and I
wore knee pads in 3-on-3.
I mean, I should have known who it was, but I had to get a little closer. I'm like, oh, that's just Casey Hughes. And dang, the other kid,
Hannah Fact,
Kara Riley, Mackenzie Matthews. Yeah, she was always on the ground too.
When you two were on the same team, it was lights out.
I know. You're just yelling. Competition goes crazy with Mac too.
So, Casey, as a D3 athlete, tell us what Coach Harr has kind of contributed to your life. You definitely addressed that a little bit in our part of the interview, but for any kid who is considering D3, and maybe even more importantly for the kids who aren't even open to D3, what would you tell those kids in relation to the type of coaching and competition that you got at Baldwin Wallace?
Yeah, so I mean, we saw a couple tweets today, like the OAC was not an easy conference, and every game, and coach always had this way of motivating us to know that even if a team was 0-16, that they were going to be playing like it was the national championship game. And that was my favorite thing about the conference in general. It was so much competition. And like coach said, I'm just a competition nut. I just love competing about anything in life. It's just, I make it a competition. But my favorite thing about like our relationship, Coach Harr, and with Coach Cody, is the doors were always open. And, I was from Dayton, which is, 3.5 hours away. And when things were not easy at school, or, we were struggling with basketball, they were always so willing to listen to us and understand why, they understand just females, and, this age group is just so unique, and they were always there to talk to us and listen to us with open ears. And then we had meetings once a month, preseason and postseason, just to kind of talk about life beyond basketball, because, practice is 3 hours a day, and then there's games, every weekend and once a week, but so much of life happens outside of the court. And what we learned through BW and just Division III has to be applied to, on the court, but also when life starts happening after basketball ends. And unfortunately, our season got ended early, so we kind of were thrown into the wind. But I've never felt underprepared to face the real world because of the experiences that I got from Coach Harr's program.
This is one thing that I honestly hate asking about or talking about at any. You guys went through it with COVID. I know a lot of high school teams that went through it. Ashland went through it. What did it mean for you to kind of go through that heartbreaking experience with Coach Harr, and how important was it, or how helpful was it for that she was around to take that journey with you?
Yeah. So, once COVID started happening and the news kind of caught wind of it, we knew what it was, or we kind of knew what it was. So then going into the tournament, there were so many rumors, like our parents were telling us, then they cut back they said like 100 people per game, and then they said no people at the game. And I remember that last practice was just so fun, and we joked around, and it didn't feel like the end, but we kind of knew what was going to happen. And we all, after we went back to the hotel room, we got smoothies, and yeah, it was very heartbreaking, and I wouldn't wish that heartbreak on anyone. But having Coach Harr tell us, that was very special, because, being in your dorm room or being in your house at school and hearing that news would have been devastating. And it kind of made it interesting that we got one last bus ride together. We got like a 5-hour bus ride from Ann Arbor back to BW. And we got to sing songs for one last time and all be together. But, it was this very surreal moment that I don't think I would have wanted anyone else to break the news, besides our fearless leader, Coach Harr. And, being surrounded with my best friends, that was, I remember just hugging Kara for an hour and, trying to hold back tears, but understanding that what we had was so special, and that we were very, very blessed that we didn't end on a loss, when most teams did, and that we had what we had when we had it. I know I have my OAC shirt on. I was going to wear that one, but I didn't want that probably.
There's apparently a lot of Baldwin Wallace Championship T-shirts around.
I have like 10 in my drawer. I'm cleaning out my drawers to go to Chicago, and I kept all my championship shirts.
Got to. You absolutely have to.
Yeah.
Coach Harr, is there anything that you'd like to say to Casey before we all split up here?
Just so proud of you, Casey. Just who you are and all you've been through and how you've handled it with so much grace and class. And I'm just so excited for what you're going to continue to do in the future. Love you.
Thank you so much. Love you too, Coach Harr.
I did not know that you were a editor of the newspaper. I might have to hire your services, because I am a complete illiterate And
I do pro bono work. I mean, I would help you for free, so don't.
people love to point out my mistakes when I post articles, and
I'm a grammar freak. I'm a grammar freak, and I don't even have to use, any grammar editing sites.
It's literally I care the least. Like, you don't pay to read my articles. I don't care. I'll do the best I can, but if I have mistakes, I don't care. But you got to promise me one thing. I promised Kevin Bekelja that I would come to DePaul this year and watch Dee before she graduates, and I'm going to do that. When I come to Chicago, I want you to – I'll pay, but you got to show me a spot in Chicago where we can get some great food.
Okay, I'll start, scouting out some places because I'm a newbie too.
Well, by this time, you should have at least a couple suggestions, and like I said, it's on me, but you just got to find a really good place to eat.
I will. I can do that.
All right, ladies. Hey, thank you, Sherry, again for the second time. Thanks for coming on, and Casey. Again, I've always been a big fan, and it's awesome to see that you're doing great things even after basketball. Yeah,
thank you so much for having me.
And your sister, shoot, you said she's in the 7th grade?
She's in the 7th grade. She's taller than I am and wears like a size 10 shoe.
Honestly,
she's like 5'8".
I feel like when I first started following you that she was like tiny.
I don't know where the height came from, but it was beneficial for me this year. She was like a bully in the average like 4 O boards a game.
As somebody who has a special relationship with my niece, who she turns 12 in August, I just love to see how much you mean to your little sister, and you're just a great role model for her. I wish there were more people that took the time and the effort to be an absolute star role model for their younger siblings. So I love that aspect of you, and that's just as important as anything.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, ladies, you guys have a great night, and we'll see you guys around.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
All right, take it easy. We have Travis Ponton coming on here. When he gets ready. If you're my buddy, I'm going to put you on before you even get ready.
I'm here. I apologize. I had to go get my charger before my laptop died on me. I noticed I'm so low on percentage, but I'm here.
Oh, it's a tough life. The podcast life. Once I start, I'm stuck here for, we'll probably go to about an hour and 40 minutes tonight. Sometimes I'd love to get up and get a drink of water. So I feel it.
It's good to see you, man. I love the logo with the when you make a T-shirt, you've owed me a T-shirt for a number of years. So I want this T-shirt for the Hofcast.
Well, multiple people have asked for T-shirts, so maybe we'll have to make that happen. The beard is actually shorter than it was when we made the logo.
Way shorter.
If I didn't really have the mullet that strong when the logo was made either, so I don't know what the right word is, but my hair assembly has changed quite a bit since that logo. But hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. We've been good friends for many years, and honestly, that's it says a lot because we've never been geographically close. Like, what's the closest you've lived to Ohio? Virginia?
Mount St. Mary's, I guess, a little closer than here. Clearly, Charleston Southern, Southeastern Louisiana, Loyola, New Orleans, LIU, Brooklyn, not so close. So, no, I met you when I was at Charleston Southern, watching one of your players at Battle in the Borough when it was in Nashville, which is a great place to have it. And that's when I met you, and we've stayed tight ever since. And great friend of mine, so I was happy to come, and I've enjoyed listening to the other speakers tonight so far. It's been excellent.
And then I think it was that same year I ran into you in DC.
Probably, yeah.
On the subway.
Probably, yeah.
Introduced me to Jason Asbell.
Oh, from Davis and Elkins.
Davis and Elkins, literally on the subway in DC. So
Great guy. Jesus is a great guy. Another beard guy.
Yes, small beard, but it still counts. So you have been through all the ranks in coaching. You're currently at a Division III school now. If I pronounce it wrong, please forgive me. Bryn Athyn.
That's it. Bryn Athyn, not Bryn Mawr. Bryn Athyn.
Bryn Athyn in Philadelphia. And, let's first compare in a recruiting aspect the differences, which I clearly know a lot of the differences. But for the people listening, give us the differences and probably mostly the challenges of recruiting at a D3 school as compared to a Division I school where you've been at, several of them, and even Division II schools.
Yeah, there's a lot of differences. D3 is a great level of ball. Your speakers have already spoken on that. It's a great level of ball. There are great games here. There are great players. There's a great reason to play. But it is different. One way it's been put to me, and it makes a lot of sense, we're not all on even playing fields here at this level. If you're being recruited by 4 schools in the Horizon League, they're all offering a full scholarship. So then it becomes your relationship with the kid, your facility, your roster situation. Like those things become more important, I think, to the student athlete making the decision. At our level, all of our schools cost differently. We're not giving athletic scholarships, and so we're not on even playing ground sometimes. So that's something that I've run into here. Pennsylvania has like the 3rd most colleges in America, but we have like the 29th maybe highest population. So super saturated. I mean, there's probably 30 Division III schools within 50-mile radius of my campus. So that's just a different thing that we've had to kind of navigate a little bit. There are a lot of kids, and I think we've talked about this, your earlier visitors have talked about this, that just don't want to play in college. If it's not going to be a free education, they just want to go to Maryland or Rutgers or Ohio State and be a student. More power to them. This process is about young people finding what's best for their future. I truly believe that. I tell that to every kid I recruit, no matter what level I'm at. So I'm invested in that. And, we all recruit hundreds of players, right? How many of them actually come and play for us? So that's kind of an interesting observation. But it's got its challenges. You have to know your niche. I'm a Dan Tudor guy. I study Dan Tudor stuff really hard. I love his newsletter. Sign up. It's a free newsletter, coaches. I listen to his podcast. I love picking up recruiting tidbits. How can I get better at recruiting? Every year, I'm thinking about how I can get better at it. And as I'm at Division III now for my 3rd year coming up, it's a constant process, evaluating how we're going about it and how we could be better.
What were some of the challenges moving from Division I to Division III, and how did you kind of have to, obviously the money is a big one, but, how did you have to adapt the way that you recruited? And me and Coach Harr kind of talked about the timelines too, but what were some of the biggest changes that you had to make in the way that you recruited?
In Division I, you've got 3 assistants. You have a Dobo handles all the non-basketball stuff, and maybe you do. And you have a head coach. So you have 4 recruiters on your staff at a normal Division I school. If you go P5, they've got operations people that are doing all the mail-outs and stuff. But, you've got 4 recruiters. At Bryn Athyn College right now, I'm the only coach of the women's basketball staff. So it's all me. It's all me. I have to be judicious in who I go after. I have to be smart about it. I really rely on people like you. When I call you about Huddle Kids, I want to know, is this kid willing to come to Philadelphia? Is this kid got 10 Division III schools in Ohio talking to her? Those are important for me to know because there's 24 hours in a day. And I kind of cut my recruiting off around 10:30 at night for an East Coast kid. I'm not going to text kids after 10 o'clock. That's just not who I am. So there's only so many hours in a day. So we really have to be kind of smart about who we go after. But I worked for Brian Witten in Mount St. Mary's, who was a great Division III coach in his day. And he used to say he had to recruit 100 kids to get 5. And that is totally true. And he was at Kings up in Scranton, had a great run there, multiple NCAA tournaments. But Witt was on point with that, as he was with many things. So we have to recruit a lot of players. We try to make sure we're going after the right players. We understand our strengths and weaknesses. Dan Tudor put out a great thing about a month ago about how Nick Saban is able to get top kids every year. And he says, don't people negative recruit you and say, well, they've already got 5 players that were 5-star player in your position. Nick Saban gets out front of that, right? So whatever weaknesses you might have, get out in front of them. Bryn Athens is the smallest school in the NCAA. We have the smallest enrollment of any school in the NCAA. Beautiful school, great academics, but we're the smallest school in the NCAA. So
in the entire country.
The entire country.
Wow.
Our enrollment's right around 350, 400. So
oh, goodness.
That's a challenge, right? So get out in front of that, and talk about the good parts about that. We're in the 6th biggest city in the country, for example. So you're not going to be bored at Bradford College. So we have to get out in front of those things. Just like you would in the Division I level. Get out in front of, I was at Charleston Southern, 2nd smallest arena in Division I. So we had to get out in front of those things because kids would come to campus and say, my high school gym is bigger than this, and they're not wrong. So understand your strengths and weaknesses and kind of attack those things. And find kids. Like if a kid tells me coach, I'm talking to 10 other schools and they're all bigger than you, I'm probably going to maybe not recruit that kid anymore. Because every minute you spend on the phone with that kid, et cetera, watching their game instead of watching the other game, that can cost you kids down the road. So it's just constantly, like I said, tweaking about how we go about it and what's the smartest way to do it. And you're doing it by yourself. Maybe you have an assistant, a part-time assistant, a GA, but you're mostly doing it kind of on your own. So you've got to really be, smart about it.
Coach Harr and I talked a little bit earlier, and I asked her this question, and I want to make sure that I ask you as well because you have a lot of experience. Again, you even have the unique experience that you've coached at higher levels. What are some misconceptions or myths or just complete untrue things that kids perceive about the Division III level?
I think Coach gave some good ones earlier. I definitely think, and I've always felt like this, it's made too much about the scholarship in girls basketball from the youth levels. It's about get a scholarship, get a scholarship, get a scholarship. And I've always cringed when I hear those kind of mentalities because then it's not about the game. When I was a high school coach, I told kids, look, let's keep going to state tournaments every year. You're going to get seen. You're going to get opportunities because we're good. I mean, you're good because you work hard. So I wish it was more about that than it was about, well, we're going to get you a scholarship. We're going to get you a scholarship. I think a lot of kids are turned off to it if there's no scholarship involved. And that's so disappointing because there is good basketball at this level, as coaches have said already on the show. And as you know, because I know you go and watch it, that's just one of the biggest things. There's no scholarships. Well, yes, there are. There are academic scholarships. We have great ones at Bryn Athens College. So there are a lot of opportunities, I think, in Division III to get an affordable education if students are willing to take a look at it. And also, I think that playing basketball adds to your college experience, and it adds to you as a person. I always tell kids, one day you're going to be sitting in an office wishing you could be on the basketball court. So take advantage of those years. If you really love the game, if you really want to meet lifelong friends. I mean, I was just in one of my teammates' weddings in August, and that's special. So I really believe that there's a lot of value in those things that get overlooked in the process. So I think that's a big misconception. A lot of our student athletes, one thing I can tell you, Rich, they don't like missing class. So like missing 1 or 2 classes because they're so academically driven is like a big thing for them. So it's interesting to see, like in Division I, you're packing that bag, you're going on a 5-day road trip, you're playing 2 games. Our kids are like, Coach, I'm missing my bio lab. So that's been an interesting observation. And like, it's all right. You're going to be okay. It's an excused absence. But that's kind of another difference I've kind of noticed coming to this level versus the Division I level. But I think our players, they're not getting paid. They're not getting a cost of attendance stipend. They're not on a scholarship. A lot of them are paying something for school. Maybe it's not 10, 15 grand, but they're paying something. So the fact that they come every day, go through the same things. I mean, I do the same things with our kids that I did at the Division I level. We use a scouting template for our games, the same one we used at Mount St. Mary's. Some of the same individual workouts we do with our kids, I did 2 years ago at LIU Brooklyn or whatever. So they're doing that without any financial incentive, right? So the whole for the love of the game thing is kind of cliche, but it's true. So I really commend our kids, and I try to make sure it's a rewarding experience for them.
Now, this year is obviously much different. There's less opportunities for scholarships, which is in turn should help you guys. The pool of kids that you're going to be able to recruit is going to be larger. Have you had any trouble, kind of are kids realizing that, or are they still scholarship driven for the most part? If not, how do you approach that, knowing that not as many of these kids are going to have scholarship opportunities as before?
It's been a mix. It really has. I mean, there are kids, unfortunately, who have told me, if I'm not getting paid to play basketball, I'm not playing basketball. And that breaks your heart. Like, it really does. Like, that's just a skewed view. As somebody that's a basketball lifer, you know me, like, I love this. I still play. I still love to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and set up the gun and shoot. So I hate hearing a kid say that. I'm not getting a scholarship, so I'm not interested. I'm like, oh, that's so tough to hear. So in theory, yes, there would be more kids. There would be a trickle down. But I think that you see a lot of kids who just say, well, I'm not going to play then. They see basketball as a means to getting an education. And that's okay. But they're just like, well, it's not going to give me a free education, so I'm not going to go. The waiver process is obviously interesting. I don't think a lot of Division III kids will take advantage of it because they're all paying for school, right? So I think that's one thing we kind of see. But it's just the process, and we keep trying. I mean, we're in the portal. We're working on kids, and some of those kids think they're going to find a scholarship somewhere in August. So they're not going to take the call. And but we'll see what happens. I mean, the game's in a weird place right now. I think every sport's kind of in a weird place coming out of COVID. There's definitely some aftershocks that we're feeling that we don't even have them all yet, right? So we're going to see where COVID kind of takes it. Another thing that kind of changed for us, we're big junior college recruiters here at Bernathen College, and there wasn't much JUCO market this year. If you weren't getting a scholarship, you can go back to JUCO for a third year. So you're seeing a lot of kids go back to JUCO for that third year, and we'll see what happens. Is there going to be now 2 classes coming out of JUCO? Like, we're going to see how that all plays out. And it's just going to be something you got to keep evolving and keep rolling with the punches. But I'm excited. I took over October 19. So the first year was not a normal recruiting cycle. And then a week after our season was over, the second year was not a normal recruiting cycle because of COVID. So I'm excited to actually kind of have a normal recruiting cycle and see where it takes us, because we've really tried to rebuild this roster, and we really try to get after it from a recruiting standpoint. As you know, I've spoken at the Final Four. I think recruiting is the most important thing. You can be a really good basketball coach, but if you look across the court and they've got better players than you, it's going to be a rough night. I truly believe that. So that's a big focus for us.
Now, as far as competitiveness, I mean, I know how it is in Ohio. We talked about the OAC already, and it is very, very tough. In your area, is that something that you're able to use to, kind of break through that misconception that there's not, D3 is not as good at competition-wise, or is that something that kids struggle to see in your area?
I think in our area is so saturated. I mean, there's some great colleges and universities in Philadelphia that have been around forever, that have won national championships in Division III. So we're super saturated in Philadelphia, and that's a challenge that we have to keep fighting and keep working at. But one thing I try to do is I try to go to places where there's no D3. We've signed a player from South Carolina in 2021. We've signed a player from Florida each year I've been here. So we try to go places where there's not so much D3. And there's no D3s in Florida. There's no D3s in South Carolina. So tap into those markets a little bit. Find those kids who definitely want to play, and say, hey, well, you've got to go north no matter what, right? Why not come to a high academic, affordable private school in a great city you can fly in and out of really easily and it's kind of worked for us. So that's kind of been a niche that we've kind of tagged into, along with, again, junior college. But CSAC, we're in the Colonial State Athletic Conference, very competitive conference. I don't think a team has won that 2 years in a row in recent history. So it's a conference where anybody can win. Some of these other conferences, as you know, that's not necessarily the case. So that's something that we try to sell in recruiting. You want to go to the NCAA tournament, don't go to a conference where your team is lucky to finish in the middle of the pack. That's their goal. And you see that across college basketball, right? You see that in conferences in Division I. Same couple teams are winning it every year. You're struggling resources-wise, so you're just trying to get into that top half every year and kind of give yourself a chance. So we try to sell those things for sure. We sell Philadelphia, great city, awesome city. You're close to the beach. You're basically in the foothills of the mountains. We sell our competitive price. We're one of the most affordable private schools in the country. So we sell those things, and that's kind of what we go after. But definitely, again, do you want to play basketball? Do you want to come into a program where you can contribute early on? Do you want to come into a program that's about building you as a person? Those are all things we kind of ask kids, and their answers kind of dictate their own process.
Now, one of the other things that makes kids and AAU coaches and maybe even some parents look down on D3 is they think that the higher the division, the more luxuries you have, the gear, the travel, all that. Now, in your experience overall, do you believe that gap is that large, or is there not much of a gap at all, or where do you feel that lands?
I think people don't think about this, but there's the old saying, "Low money, more problems." So, the budget at Charleston Southern is bigger than the budget. Yeah, the budget at Charleston Southern is bigger than the budget at Bryn Athyn, but Charleston Southern also has to get on the plane to play some games. So Charleston Southern is also taking 5-day road trips. So one thing I found, and I've been at some schools in lower Division I that were not the top of their conference in budget, their dollars, when it's all said and done, they don't have much left in their budget than I have. What's left in my budget. We're just not having to do as much. We don't stay in hotels in our conference. I think we had one overnight trip my first year here. We could take vans to games in the city. We have 3 teams in our conference right here in Philadelphia. So we're able to kind of save money in that way. But I definitely think, Division I, your budget number is a lot bigger, but you've got more people on staff, so that takes out of your budget. You're giving scholarships and come out of your budget. You're having to fly to play Minnesota and Auburn and whoever. It's all coming out of your budget. So there's a lot more you have to kind of do with that level. So I think it's all relative. You look at your budget, you get creative. I was blessed to work at the places that I've worked where we've been budget strapped, and I learned how to be creative because it was like, okay, you're the third assistant. We don't have a director of operations, so all the travel's on you too. Okay, well, that's fine. How can I get creative? One thing I used to do, I used to negotiate with hotels. This hotel is offering $100 a night. That one's offering $95. So I'll call them and say, look, give me $90. You got a deal. Okay, if we do 20 rooms and we save $5 a room, we saved $100. That's one night of recruiting for one of our coaches in July. So just being creative, I think, is so important no matter what level you're at. And even all the way up to the top, I think the Power 5 guys have to spend a lot of money too. So being creative about how you're going about it is just a great skill to have, and I've been very fortunate to get that experience.
As far as I didn't ask anybody this question yet, but when Cassie and I talked about kids, you're recruiting kids that aren't interested. How do you handle kids that, you get right on the phone with them and they find out you're Division III, and then they don't even, the conversation goes nowhere. How do you handle that as a coach?
I try to text first. I'm not a cold caller. I try to text first. I've usually talked to a coach, whether it's a high school coach, club coach, maybe a parent. So I try to have that text message first. I say, I'm the head coach at Bryn Athyn College in Philadelphia. They're going to look that up. They're going to see that we're D3. And sometimes those kids don't respond. Usually the kids that respond do genuinely want to talk to you. So, I have trouble convincing kids that D3 is for them. So if you're telling me, I don't see D3, I can't spend the time, like I said earlier, trying to convince you. I have to move on to the next student. That's what we have to do at this level of Division III. So we're just trying to fill the roster. I mean, we're trying to bring in good kids and make us better and have a full roster of those kids. I can't tell you, in my first year, we played most of the season with 7 kids. And those kids were tough and they gutted it out. But that's hard. College basketball, that's tough. This year we played with 9 because we had kids at home with COVID, et cetera, et cetera. Again, that was tough. We were playing Friday, Saturday doubleheaders with our men 4 weeks in a row. Kids were just leaving it all on the floor, and I respect and admire them so much for getting through that. And they enjoyed it. I think they got better and learned in the process. But we're trying to fill the roster, have a full roster of kids that show up every day working hard. And if we can do that, we're going to continue to make progress. So if a kid's telling me, Coach, like, I don't really think D3's for me, thank you for telling me that. Best of luck, But I like knowing that ahead of time. I'd rather know that now than you tell me that next March after I've recruited you for 9 months.
Now, the big question, which I was trying to get to, you're the first coach I asked this. How do you prefer, as a D3 coach, for kids to go about saying, "Hey, I'm just not interested"? Because some kids have a hard time letting people down. So, number one, they're either not going to talk to you at all, or they're going to string you out for weeks and months without telling you, "I'm not interested." If you were a player getting recruited by Division III, as a Division III coach, what's the best way for kids to go about that?
Again, the process is all about the student. I always believe that. So it's about them figuring it out. If they know from the first text message, and I've had kids that have done this, and they come from good programs. Their high school coaches, their club coaches are advising them correctly, which we all appreciate. Those kids are getting good information. But just tell us, hey, Coach, I think Philadelphia's a little too far. Or, I appreciate you reaching out, but I'm kind of looking for a Division II school. I'm worried about money, et cetera, et cetera. I'll keep you in mind. Let us know. Let us know. And it's tough. But let's say you're not sure, so you do want to start that journey. The minute that you've gotten to the point in the journey where you see the road ending, as tough as it can be, let us know. And get your parents or your coaches to help you out with that if you struggle with it. But I can't tell you, I get those messages and I'm like, look, I appreciate you letting me know. Best of luck. If I could ever do anything for you, let me know. I truly believe that. So I really think that if kids are honest, it's the best policy. I appreciate, again, coaches like yourself that are just straightforward with me in the process. You and I talk about players all the time. One of these days we're going to get an Ohio kid. But, you're telling me, Travis, this young lady's not going to come to Philadelphia. Thank you. So I won't put her in that position because I know she's not going to come to Philadelphia. Yeah. Or I know she's got 4 or 5 options there in Ohio, and then she's got 2 more in Pittsburgh. So she's just not going to make it this far east. And that's okay. We want to know that. Just like we want to know in Division I. You want to know in Division I too. If you've offered a kid and you're telling them, look, I need a point guard. You're our top point guard. Give me the scholarship. You want that kid to call and let you know they're coming. But the second thing I think you want to know is call and let you know they're not coming, because you have to move on to the next kid. If that means you have to go out next week in Indy and Chicago or wherever you're at to watch the next kid, that's important for you to know. If you think you've got a kid and she's committing and then she doesn't, you can find yourself kind of in a boat without the oar, right? So I just think it's so important, honesty in the process. And I've grown to respect the coaches in this game that are just straightforward with me. I can't tell you how many, all over the country, from Texas to California to Minnesota to Ohio, just honest, Travis, this one isn't for you. Or, I think this kid's really going to end up here when it's all said and done. So I don't know if you want to kind of start the process. We appreciate that. I think coaches spend a lot of time on the phone with these young people. Sometimes, unfortunately, maybe more than some of their own young people at home. So I think that it's just so important that there's transparency in the process. And I'm grateful for the coaches that are educating their kids the right way about it. It's not going to break my heart to know you're not interested. It's going to break my heart when you tell me you're not interested in April. Yeah.
So this whole topic tonight has been about D3 in general. But if I gave you 30 seconds to sell Bryn Athen to everybody who's listening, there's already been many people on the live stream. There's going to be hundreds more that listen on replay. 30 seconds to sell Bryn Athen. What do you got?
All right. Well, if you're looking for a place to play, where you're going to have fun. You're going to grow as a person. Super affordable, great education. Bryn Athyn's the place for you. We're in the 6th biggest city in the country. We're a 35-minute train ride from New York City, right here in the Northeast corridor from Richmond to Boston, right? So it's a great place to come to school, great Christian college, and we're building something special on the basketball court kind of one day at a time. So we're really excited about what we're doing, and we've already made a little bit of history. In my first couple of years here, we've done some things that are really special. So I'm excited. Anybody that wants to come kind of be a part of a family, high energy, and just get after it, we're the place for you. So that's always my pitch.
Sounds great. And I've never been to Philadelphia myself. I know if you remember, again, I got a steel trap up here. I don't forget anything. I made a trip to Brooklyn as you were switching jobs, and you literally left Brooklyn like a month before I got there. But I am going to get to Philadelphia. I've never been there. I'd love to see the city. Maybe we can hit a Phillies game while I'm there. But I promise you, I'm going to get to Philly, and I'm going to expect you to show me around and be my tour guide.
The door is always open for you, my friend, and I'd love to have you. I live 5 blocks from the Rocky statue, so I'm right in the heart of the city. And it's such a cool city. I had been to Philly so many times, and I never lived here. And for me, I've embraced it. Great city, great people, very hardworking people. And like I said, Bryn Athyn's been awesome. We're really excited about what we're doing, and come anytime. You're always welcome.
Don't lie to me. How many times have you ran the steps like Rocky?
0. It's just so many people. It's so many people. There's always people. The Vegas sign, the Rocky statue is the same thing. There's always people taking pictures with the Rocky statue. There's a line. So I will say, when it snows, people sleigh ride down the Rocky stairs. It's pretty sweet.
Wow.
I might have to try that. But no, I haven't run up the Rocky
stairs. Challenge then. Listen to me. I'll get you your T-shirt, but I need you. You live 5 blocks away?
Yeah, about.
You go run the steps tomorrow, post on Twitter. I'll get you a T-shirt.
All right. I'm going to have to do it for you, Rich.
There we go. Tomorrow. Get it done.
Get it done. I'm in. I'll wake up in the morning and get it done.
All right, man. Well, hey, I really appreciate your time. Man, you are a great friend. We've never been geographically close, but we do talk on the phone quite a bit, and I really appreciate you calling and checking up on me, pretty frequently. So, I mean, that means a lot to me, and I just appreciate you as a friend. Get that run done tomorrow. I'll be to Philly. Show me around a little bit here soon. Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I love the show, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully this summer. Oh, you will definitely see me, my friend. Fear the beard, baby. All right, have a good night. Thanks, Rich, man. Bye. Bye. Well, that was a great show. Thanks, everybody. Listen, Coach Harr wanted me to make sure that I gave Cody Hartler a shout-out, her assistant coach. She said it just slipped her mind, but I think Cody realizes how much he is appreciated. Me and Sherry have talked about him in her interview, in person. She absolutely appreciates him. So she wanted me to make sure that I got that shout out to Cody Hartzler, and shout out to you, my man. Good luck to everybody this July as you're getting out. I'm not real sure what the podcast is going to look like next week. I'm working on maybe getting a Run for the Roses episode. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like right now, but I would like to broadcast live from the Run for the Roses. So stay tuned. I will definitely put information out on Twitter when I figure that out. But thanks to everybody. Guys, Division III has a lot of great opportunities for basketball players. I know players who have turned down scholarships to go Division III. Elena Rao was one kid that used to play for me, turned down a Division II full ride to go play at Mount Union, had a fabulous career, is now working in the hospital. She got a nursing degree while playing basketball at Mount Union. I'm really proud of what she's doing with herself. That's just one example. There are great opportunities outside of Division I, Division II, and NAIA. So please, hope you enjoy the show. And hey, if you guys see me in July, I will be in Louisville for Run for Roses. I'll be in Indy from July 8th to the 12th. Then I'm going to Orlando from July 20th, actually the 19th through the 29th. Then I'll be home for the showcase on July 31st. So if you see me, please say hi. Introduce yourself, because I don't know all you guys like you know me. So again, have a great July. Good luck to everybody, and have a great night. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.